Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the win total for App State. You see it here. It's 8.5 wins in the regular season in the Sun Belt. According to the sports books, if you go to the top up here and you go pick conference winners, App State's the favorite to win the conference. And they say they're the favorite to win the conference. And then when you go look at their regular season wins, the over 8.5 is a plus 112. Do you think App State's going to win 9 games? So the first thing you want to do is go back to last season, go look at how they did and see what they have returning production-wise. Now, last year, they won 9 games. But to win those 9 games, they had to win their bowl game against Miami of Ohio. And then they have this game here in the conference championship. So they played an extra game. None of that would have counted. The wins are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they didn't get to 9 wins last year. Are they going to do it this year? Well, last year they played Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb had a really good team. The coach just got hired at ETSU. He moved the entire team of Gardner-Webb. They literally 20 transfers from Gardner-Webb, 22 transfers moved over to ETSU. So now it's just, you're playing ETSU, but it's Gardner-Webb again. And the reason I bring that up is the first game of the season for App State is ETSU. They're playing the same team that they just played against. It's just in a different stadium. I'm not kidding. I obviously do research on every single opponent. And when I go deep dive ETSU, I see all the same names that look familiar to me, and they're from Gardner-Webb from last year. So it's just one of those things, like when you do this job and you do a lot of research on rosters, you catch that kind of stuff. It doesn't just go like, it wouldn't go unnoticed. Right? So that being said, they went up against North Carolina, lost in double overtime, could not stop Omarion Hampton, but who could, right? Couldn't stop them. They actually, I think, overperformed there. Exceeded expectations because they covered the spread immensely. I remember the spread we missed on this. I picked North Carolina to win this game because they had just, I believe, beat South Carolina, or maybe they lost to South Carolina. I can't remember, but I just know we missed. The next week, they beat East Carolina. Congratulations. Then they go and lose on the road to Wyoming. Not a bad loss. It happens, man. You lose to Wyoming. But what you see here is a terrible inconsistency on this team. And I had somebody talk to me about it in the DMs. They're like, Rico, do you really think App State's going to put it all together? Well, let's talk about it. They go against ULM, who's absolutely terrible, and they barely win the game. 41-40. Was it a trap game? Were they looking forward to their bye week and treated ULM like a bye week? They almost lost this game. And then you see 2 weeks to prepare for Coastal Carolina. You still lose. Then you're at Old Dominion. You lose again, and Old Dominion is terrible. The cupboard's bare at Old Dominion. Both these teams, I don't know how you're losing to them. And then they get serious. They get into conference play. Well, they've been in conference play, but they get focused, and they win out. Boom. Beat Southern Miss, shut down Frank Gore Jr. and the boys. I say shut them down. They outscored them 48-38. And then with Marshall, they shut them down completely, 31-9. Shut down Darren Granger and Marcus Carroll at Georgia State on the road, just smashed them. JMU, at JMU, figured out a way to beat an undefeated team, and I was excited for it. That's incredible. And then you beat Georgia Southern at the end of the year. Obviously, didn't match up well with Troy. Troy had a great team for the conference, and it showed. But beating Miami of Ohio is a pretty big deal. You beat a team that just won the MAC or played in the MAC championship. Pretty cool. All right. Congratulations. Now, the offseason hits. The offseason hits, what did they lose? Let's go talk about that for a second here. When you look at the departures from App State, I want to commend App State. I wrote notes over here, and I'm like, yo, make sure I give a shout-out to Sean Clark. Make sure I give a shout out to Sean Clark. That's the head coach. If you don't know who Sean Clark is, he's a former offensive lineman that played at App State, and he's coaching at his alma mater, okay? And he's coaching there, and he's doing the best he can with what he has, and he kind of took it a step back, and I'm going to tell you what he did. He went and hired somebody that used to be at App State last year, right? Scott Sloan, and we're going to talk about Scott Sloan ad nauseum in a second here, the defensive coordinator. But when you start looking at the culture of this team, you see a quarterback like Charles Wright transfer in from Texas. He thinks he's going to transfer in and be the starter. He thinks he's going to transfer in and beat out Joey Aguilar. Are you crazy? It didn't happen, bro. You start seeing departures from this team, and it's FCS everywhere. FCS. All these are FCS programs. You got Liberty for a backup quarterback in Ryan Berger. Congratulations. You got ECU for the punter. FAU for your fifth-string wide receiver. Missouri, take Nate Noel. That's a big deal. That's your running back. You would love to have Nate Noel this year, but it ain't a big deal. You see the picture below? That's a guy that I really believe in after watching film. That's the dude. Now, I obviously watched all of App State games last year. I know who I'm talking about, but you go back and watch the film again, and you're like, yo, this kid's amazing. I realize these guys are a little small. Let me scroll roll so you can see who these players are. ETSU, Seth Williams goes to ETSU. By the way, the guys going to ETSU or going to Gardner-Webb, remember, it's the same coaching staff essentially, but more power to them. Let's see who else departed. Went to Charlotte for Spellman on edge. I'm telling you, there's too many good edges at App State. 6'4", 230, he's too small. The edges at App State are really long. I'll talk about it, and they're really good. Georgetown? Yeah, going to Georgetown. Shout out to Sutton. James Edwards going to Tennessee Tech like the others, and then going to Lafayette here. So they lose nothing of consequence outside of Nate Noel. And I don't think that that's a big deal at all. I don't really. Let's go to the production and talk about it. They have Joey Aguilar coming back. This is a senior quarterback. He just threw for 3,700 yards. That's Shedeur Sanders numbers, okay? If you don't know, if you need some type of point of reference, that's Shedeur Sanders type numbers in way less attempts. Way less attempts. I don't even know. Let me double check. I don't want to say the wrong thing on video. Shedeur Sanders stats. Let's go see what Shedeur Sanders was throwing. 430 attempts. My bad. 430, 3,200 yards. No, this man crushed those numbers. 30 more attempts. Crush the numbers. These are impressive numbers. 33 touchdowns. Shedeur Sanders, 27. Yep. This is a gunslinger if you ever saw one. This man can throw the rock, get it to all the right players. He's special, man. They didn't struggle to score. If you go back and look, they weren't struggling to score. When they were losing, they were struggling to stop scoring, to stop the people from scoring on them. They were scoring just fine. Right? How many times they go over 40 points, over 30 points? They went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Over 30 points 8 times. I'm going to take that all day. Joey Aguilar is him. Great quarterback, and he's coming back for another year. Undisputed, that's the guy. Right? And he's good. And he's good. Ryan Berger just left, right? Like I said, he left to Liberty. Nate Noel leaves to Missouri. You think this is a big deal? He's the little scat back. Yeah, it's a big deal if they didn't have Kanye Roberts. Kanye Roberts rushed for 3,000 yards in high school, his senior year. This is a picture of him down here. This man is built like an every down back. He's ready to carry the workload. I like everything about him. Kanye Roberts is a real running back. Scored more touchdowns than Nate Noel. He's your 3 down back. He can do it 3 days in a row. And if he can't run the rock because you need to rest him, just throw it. You have all the best receivers. You have all the best quarterback. You have everything. It's the top offense. For me, this is a top 3 offense in the Sun Belt. The only comparable offenses are South Alabama and Arkansas State. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And I'm telling you, I love Kanye Roberts Tape. I don't think there's any drop-off at the running back room. As a matter of fact, I think they're better. I think they're better this year in the running back room. Anderson Castle has passed Haywood on the depth chart. Anderson Castle, white kid, pretty decent. Just kind of impressive. And, anytime you see a white running back, it kind of pops on tape. You're like, whoa, okay. Shout out to him. Receivers, they're all back. They're all back. Maybe Stroman's not back. Is Stroman back? No, Stroman's not back. No, Stroman is. They're all back, guys. They're all back. I don't know how Hetzel gets on the field. I don't know what this is, Michael Hetzel here. The real guy is Mekhi Jackson, the transfer from St. Francis last year. Well, he's a 1,000-yard receiver. This is what you guys got to know. Mekhi Jackson, the third receiver here with 27 receptions, 418 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's done it before. He's done 1,000 yards. But that doesn't matter, man. Robinson is a 10-touchdown guy, 900 yards. All these guys are back. The whole receiver room is back. This is incredible. Okay, I don't know how this little slot receiver down here, Michael Hetzel, got on. When I watched him on tape, I didn't see anything that impressed me. Tucker hit the transfer portal. Congratulations. They're all back. They're all back. I can't even begin to tell you how great they are. Kicker. One of the best kickers in America. One of the best kickers I've seen, bro. long of 54 yards, 2 over 50. He's 19 for 22 in field goals. 19 for 22. They say 19 and 21. Maybe one was blocked. 54 out of 54 on extra points. He's automatic. Michael Hughes is automatic. They have a kicker. And once they're within field goal range, they're gonna score. He doesn't miss. Defensively, they lost some leaders on the defense. They still have Caden Sullivan. This guy is young. He's the right size for an NFL linebacker. He's 6'2", 230-ish right now. He's a stud. He's a stud. And I want to talk about E.J. Jackson for a second here. You see this E.J. Jackson? This is crazy, okay? So I'm watching tape on App State, and I'm look at this. It looks like he played all season long, right? Not really, bro. I see this number 6 show up on the film about October 28th. It's one of my. I don't mean to dox my older brother, but I remember that date because it's his birthday. October 28th, he shows up on the tape. Let me go back here. Game log. Let me see who they're playing. It's after the ODU game. So right here. Yep, October 28th. There it is. So he plays in one game against North Carolina. 1 tackle in double overtime. I don't ever see him on tape again. I don't see this young man on tape again. Then, October 28th, he's on tape and making all the tackles on the team. Look at this. He's making all the tackles. He's everywhere. This number 6, I said, where the hell did he come from? Because, I'm taking notes. I'm watching the tape, and I'm like, what just happened? I'm going to tell you guys what happened. Scott Sloan, the defensive coordinator for App State, let me give you some background on him. He was the defensive coordinator at App State back when they were an FCS program. He was the reason they became great and got to the FBS, okay? He's one of the main reasons. Most recently, he was a defensive coordinator at Army for their secondary and Georgia Southern. And if you remember Georgia Southern, just a couple years ago, Derek Canteen was amazing out of Evans High School. Derek Canteen had like 14 passes deflected or something crazy. He transferred up to Virginia Tech. That didn't work out. He transferred again. But they had Anthony Wilson in the secondary. He transferred to West Virginia. They had like so many good defensive backs at Georgia Southern. And it's all this guy. So Scott Sloan comes over to this team. He's the new defensive coordinator last year, and he starts running something called a star. He changes his scheme on this date right here, changes the scheme on the 28th of October, and starts using E.J. Jackson, and they run a star concept. It's a linebacker who's an extra guy in the box who can actually cover. They used a safety. Next year they're going to use this guy, Avion Cole. But the point I'm trying to make is that's why they went on this winning streak. They changed their defense. And they started shutting teams down. You hold Marshall to 9 points. You hold Georgia State to 14, JMU to 23. This is why they turned into a different team. It was this different scheme. So as long as he can implement that all offseason and have the right personnel for it, I think they're going to be so much better. So I say that there are questions on the defense, but when you look at this team, all the receivers come back. The offensive line, it's not the greatest, but we need to understand what we're looking at here. We're looking at some transfers from major programs. Like they tend to knock it out the park with signing transfers that didn't work out at major schools. I hope I'm making myself clear. I'll give you an example. I'm really intrigued by Xavier Short, by the way. Both of these guys, really. Xavier Short, if I can go back to the wide receivers for a second, this is an all-time leading receiver in South Carolina history. Coming out of high school, he walks on at South Carolina. I believe he's a preferred walk-on. And now he's here after 2 years. He couldn't get on the field at South Carolina. William Foles is a former four-star, leaving Louisville, I believe. And now he's here. These guys are going to be studs one day, but right now they don't need them. They got 6 receivers coming back from last year. But they got some studs. Then you get to the offensive line. I already told you guys, Sean Clark is an offensive line coach. I believe that he will make the most of his offensive line. He's a guy. That's what he does. He's an offensive line coach. He played offensive line in the 90s. But when you start looking at their guys, look at where these guys are coming from. Now, Michael Mariota was the starting center at Mississippi Valley, I'm sorry. But Schrader's coming from Florida State. And he played at Florida State. He started a game or two. So that's a Florida State transfer. Griffin Scroggs played high school ball at Grayson. For 2 years, he was at Georgia, and then he just transferred over. And he's ready to be your starting right guard. Jack Murphy's an all-conference guy. Jack Murphy is all-conference. So you have dudes who've been starting 4 years, right? This is his 5th year in college. Thomas Schrader coming over from Florida State. Where's Thornton from? I apologize. NC State? NC State, bro. I just knew that off the top of the dome. I'm Rico Knows, right? So I really like the offensive line they're building, that they have to build. They're going to get it done. Quarterback is elite. Eli Wilson is back from last year. He scored 5 touchdowns. You don't see tight ends scoring 5 touchdowns all the time. Eli Wilson's him, and he's back for another year. Larkins is a second-string line tight end last year. He's back as well. Joey Aguilar's a stud. Charles Wright not on the team anymore, so they can get rid of that. I don't know much about David Hernandez. Kanye Roberts, complete stud. Anderson Castle moving up the depth chart. Haywood, he's played some football. He's been around for a while. Defensive line. They're huge, bro. They're huge. And the thing about it is not just their length. Like this guy, I think this guy, Sean Collins, he's like 6'5". I swear he is. I'm just guessing. 6'5", 265. 6'5", 265, bro. But more importantly, these are power 4 transfers. Sean Collins is a transfer from Rutgers. Okay? Michael Fletcher is a sack specialist. He's just a pass rushing specialist. He came over after 3 years at Michigan State. I don't remember where Abrams is from. But they freshman, all-conference team, all-Americans, whatever you want to call it, Santana Hopper and Nate Johnson were the bee's knees as freshmen. Nate Johnson, 7.5 sacks last year. That guy's a stud. He's not overly huge. He's just the best player they got. Nate Johnson is a complete animal. So between Nate Johnson and Hopper up front, they're stout. They have depth. They got third down rushers. I love the depth here. Linebackers, I already told you, Caden Sullivan, 3rd on the team in tackles. He's great. Broderick Gooch is actually athletic. He's a little small, but he's one of those athletic dudes. He's flying around. And then we get to the secondary. Y'all. Jordan Favors. Let's start with Favors. Where's Favors? He had interceptions last year. 4 of them. 4 interceptions last year. 7 passes deflected. Complete monster. Jordan Favors is going to find the ball. Oh, by the way, he's from Georgia. It's important you know about these guys from Georgia. Because we're going to talk about some other players from Georgia. Here's Ethan Johnson, their shutdown corner. 11 passes deflected. Stop throwing it his way. He pats down everything. Ethan, double-digit pass deflections get you on my radar. I go watch all your tape. You got double-digit pass deflections. I'm just letting you know. I got to see if it's an accident or not. Tyreek Funderburk was an All-American. He's gone. 4 interceptions. But the reason I brought up, he's from Georgia. We have Seth Robertson coming in. A transfer from Georgia Southern. Why does that matter? Seth Robertson is in his 5th year, final year, 6th year, whatever you want to call it. This is a young man that's played in 45 games. Oh, and he played 2 years in a Scott Sloan defense. He's familiar with the defensive coordinator because that was his secondary coach and defensive coordinator while at Georgia Southern. So he's just grabbing one of his old players, and he's going to come be the starting corner. So you have a shutdown Ethan Johnson, 11 passes deflected corner. You have Seth Robertson, 45 games under his belt, 14 starts. Jordan Favors, another 4 interception guy. Avion Cole is he's the HBCU transfer coming over from North Carolina A&T. He's the star. He's the one they're going to put on the field. I'm excited. I don't know if he starts. I see that he's starting here. I see it. I don't know if he starts. It doesn't matter, though. There's Miles Farmer. I already told you. 45 games, 4 interceptions, 11 passes deflected. Miles Farmer. Has no business being in the group of 5. Miles Farmer was I think he was the second leading tackler at Nebraska back in 2022. Then he got a DUI, got kicked out of school by Matt Rule, went up to Syracuse, was the starting safety at Syracuse. This is a starting safety in the Big Ten, the ACC, and now he's here to be the starting safety on a defense that knows what they're doing with defensive backs, with the stout defensive line, with athletic linebackers. I don't see any weakness on this team. I don't care about the lack of continuity on the offensive line. I believe in their coach. I believe in what they're building. I'm shooting my shot when no one else will. I'm letting you know now. Who'd they get in the transfer portal? There's Avion Cole. He's just a good player, man. I watched him. I'm not too impressed by him. Like, he's cool. There's Chambers, added depth, came over from NC Central. You got Xavier Short, I already told you. Great high school wide receiver. I think he's a future wide receiver for App State. Probably not going to see the field this year. They're just too deep. Schrader will be a starting lineman. Mariota's a starting center. Jack Holfield, remember, they're getting transfers for the future from big schools. Virginia Tech, Louisville. That's a starter at Syracuse. This is a USC transfer. You can't miss this many times. Nick Campbell, getting him late after spring football. Nick Campbell, 6'5" at NC State. He's another guy. Huge. 6'5", length for days. There's Seth Robertson, I just told you. This is a young man who's played a lot of football. Luke Burgess coming over from Louisville. He's just a red shirt guy. Another offensive tackle. Now, Garner Longo, I don't actually like him. Been at Auburn for a while. I think it's a waste of a thing. They're just giving offers to big dudes. That one doesn't move me. But here's my starter, man. Elijah McCantos. If he wants to move to the star, he's got the right size, length, athleticism. He does a lot of things well. He was on the field at Illinois. Wasn't starting, but he was on the field. Joshua Donald, another depth piece on the defensive line. He's just grateful to have a scholarship. I don't think he'll see the field. He's a defensive tackle. It says he's coming over from Troy. No, he went to Troy. He's actually from Southern, FCS Southern. And then he went to Troy in the winter, tried to make the team this spring. It didn't work out, and now he's here. I think he's just a plug up front, just something to add. But all in all, App State is absolutely loaded. So when I go look at their schedule, this is the daunting thing for them. They're going to beat ETSU. Then they got to play Clemson. They lose that game. Then they're at East Carolina. It's a sneaky, scary game. Okay? Sneaky, scary game at East Carolina, only because I think it's a trap game. You're getting off the emotional high of playing against Clemson. You're probably thinking about going to play South Alabama and Liberty in back-to-back weeks, so you might be just ignoring weak-ass ECU. No, man, ECU can snap up and bite you if you're not paying attention. So that one kind of scares me. But I have them losing South Alabama and Liberty, and I'm doing that out of courtesy. Pay attention, because we only got to win 9 games. So I have them losing these games. Are they better than South Alabama? Yeah, I think South Alabama's defense is bad. The offense is very good, but the defense does not look good. South Alabama, no, it does not. Liberty, obviously they're the class on the schedule here. Then we go at Marshall. They're winning that. At Louisiana, very competitive game. Louisiana has a good team and a good roster. 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia State. I love what Georgia State's building. They're not ready. Old Dominion. They should beat Old Dominion handedly. They should beat Coastal Carolina, no problem. 2 weeks to prepare for JMU. That's a scary one, but they should beat JMU and then go to Georgia Southern. You should beat Georgia Southern. You know their offense. You're the defensive coordinator. You used to go against them every day at practice. You know what Clay Helton's doing. You should beat them. Okay? And they don't have a real passing quarterback this year. So all in all, I count 1 win, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now they only need a 9th win. 2 weeks to prepare for JMU, South Alabama, or Liberty. They need one of those to win. And they got to go flawless. They haven't been going flawless lately. But I just believe in them this year. I do. I believe in what they did in the second half of the season. I also want to tell you that they're going to travel well. They don't travel very far. Look at how many games they have in South Carolina and North Carolina. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. And then one of them's Georgia. There's no problem, bro. That's not even real Georgia. That's Statesboro. It's not even Georgia, bro. Look, man, they're traveling nowhere. The furthest they got to go is West Virginia and Louisiana in back-to-back weeks. It ain't that big of a deal. I think the travel is grateful to them. Every difficult game they have is at home in Boone, North Carolina. Boone, North Carolina. Boone, North Carolina. So you have 3 games that I'm okay with you. You got to win one of those 3. You got to win one of those 3, and they're all at home. You expect me to believe a senior quarterback with all his receivers returning, and they're not just returning from last year. They've been around for 3 years now. Quarterbacks and wide receivers, they've all been together for 3 years. And Kanye Roberts at running back. Nah, man. I have App State winning this conference. I have them winning 9 games. And it's a 1-unit bet. Let me pull up the chart for you guys because you haven't seen it in a while. Shout out to the MVPs. This is not a free video. So here's the group of 5 video. You guys remember, all this is, go back and watch all the videos. I would recommend putting in 1 unit on everything that you see. Just go around, and we'll figure out the averages at the end. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend $10 on every single one of these. $10 on all these, and then figure it out. At the end, we'll figure out all the percentages at the end of the year. We'll see how right I was. I think if you only bet on 1 or 2 or 3, you might miss. That's the reality. If you only bet on 1 or 2 of these, you might pick the wrong ones. But we might get a really good average going across. I think we'll be above 60%. Now, let's go look at group of 5. I already did a free video on ULM, told you to take the under, and it's at a -184. This is a value bet. Value bet, I'm on the over. If you think they're going to choke at any point, and I didn't convince you that they're going to play great, by all means, fade me. Fade me, bro. We don't know what my percentage is on value bets for college football yet. We know in the UFC, my value bets, my percentages are like 40, I think it's 44%. We know that. So you might be right if you take the under. I'm on the over. The pay's good. 1 unit on all value bets. You're going to be, as long as you're over 50% on value bets, you made money. As long as you're over 50%, you made money because every single one of these bets gives you positive juice. Every value bet has positive juice. It's never in the minus. So as long as you go above 50%, you won money. Think about it. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Good luck, y'all. Hopefully you guys make the right choices. Peace.